Valencia is changing, and not for the better. Home and rental prices have been on a continuous rise with no end in sight. Strained public transportation and citywide services are more and more frequently becoming the norm. And even more recently, there is talk of potentially limiting people's access to public spaces. Then there is my hometown of Brownsville, Texas, which finds itself in the hands of the world's richest man, and who has already caused such massive change that locals find themselves without access to the public beach and with homes which tremble to their very foundations every time he launches one of his rockets. Let me show you how my new home and my old home are being completely taken over by a trillionaire and tourism. Listos? Vamonos! When we first arrived to live in Valencia, we moved to the expat-friendly Rusafa neighborhood in the center of the city. After a year of living there, we moved to the beach in a town called Gandia, which is just south of Valencia City. After spending about a year there, we recently moved back to Valencia and are now living in the beachside neighborhood of El Cabañal. And one thing has been a constant since we arrived to live in Spain. It's the issue of mass tourism and how it's affecting not only the city, but the country of Spain as a whole. Now it's currently August and the summer is in full swing here. Our streets are flooded with people from all over the world hopping off cruise ships or just vacationing in this beautiful, one-of-a-kind Spanish city. And while Valencia is the ideal tourist destination, the locals here are starting to see things a bit differently. If you live here, it's really hard to ignore and even avoid the negative consequences of low-cost mass tourism. Across the city, there are increasingly more and more properties being converted into tourist apartments that it's rapidly evaporating the available housing inventory. Obviously, this is contributing to the rising costs in home and rental prices, so much so that the locals can't even afford to live in their own neighborhoods anymore. This has sparked massive protests not only in the city, but in most major cities countrywide. If you happen to be strolling around Valencia, you'll easily encounter anti-tourist graffiti in several areas around town. And nowadays, if you're in the market for a rental and you happen to find a listing online that you really like, you should put in an offer right when you see it. Because if not, chances are you're going to miss out on that property. It'll be rented by someone else. Real estate companies have even coined a term for this phenomenon. They call it express leasing, or arrendamiento express. When we were looking to move back to Valencia from Gandia, about 2 properties went out from underneath our noses, really. We saw a listing one day and we spoke to the owner. We said, hey, we're gonna go visit your property the next day because we were in Gandia. We showed up in Valencia. That owner had failed to tell us that he had already rented it out by the time we got here. That's how quickly the property went. And it's not only that the tourism industry is contributing to making available and affordable homes harder to come by, but it's also starting to rob locals of public spaces that were formerly open to everyone. Here in our neighborhood of El Cabañal, certain tourist properties are taking over entire sections of street where people used to be able to park publicly, but now these areas are reserved for hotel and guest services only. Even some local traditions have started to come under attack. A timeless tradition amongst the seaside residents here is to sopar a la fresca, which is when families take food, they take their tables, their chairs, and they set up along the beach, along the promenade, and they dine out in the open air. They'll enjoy dinner out there while taking in the fresh air coming off the Mediterranean. But recently, some local restaurateurs are asking City Hall to put a limit on this practice because they say it doesn't look good in front of tourists. Now, in my experience, Spaniards in general, but Valencianos more specifically, are some of the most accepting, accommodating, and relaxed people I've ever come across. So if the locals are starting to voice their own concerns and unhappiness about what they see happening in their city, I think it's time for everyone to listen. Here recently, there have been some incidents of clashes between locals and tourists because of a lack of general respect when it comes to the use of public spaces by tourists. During this time of year, it's not unusual to see groups of 10, 20, maybe even 30 tourists cycling through narrow streets or on sidewalks, not respecting people when they're on the crosswalk. You know, actions that they wouldn't even take in their own city, but they do it when they come to Valencia. Then there's my hometown of Brownsville, Texas, which finds itself under similar attack, but yet from a solitary and unusual source: Elon Musk. It's been a decade since the world's richest man set up his SpaceX launch site in Brownsville, Texas, on Boca Chica Beach, and since then he has not looked back. This launch site is now officially known as Starbase, and as of May of last year, it is now incorporated as a municipality with its own police force, courts, and city hall. Locals in Brownsville have had access to the popular Boca Chica Beach restricted due to the many launches, test launches, and even canceled launches that happen at Starbase. Local wildlife has been negatively affected, from the 24-hour light and noise pollution from the constant facility construction, the intense heat, the severe vibrations, the scattered debris along the beach due to the launches. And it's not only the wildlife. People's homes are vibrating down to the very foundations every time a rocket launches at Starbase. It is sad to see how a working class beach that I frequented when I was a kid with my parents is now being taken over. When I was there recently, there was a ballot initiative to change the name of Boca Chica Beach to Cyber Beach. Now luckily it failed. Not only is land being taken over, but they're even renaming public areas. When I was there, I spoke to a local law enforcement officer who was patrolling the area, and I asked him, hey, what do you think about what's going on here? And he said, well, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually Starbase tries to incorporate the beach into its own municipality and just make it completely private, which would be a huge loss for the local residents. It's a very popular fishing spot. It's a very popular spot for people to just go out and enjoy the beach. You can still drive your car out onto the sand, you park there, and you just enjoy it, just like we did when we were kids with our family. Now, the loss of the beach and the natural area is bad enough, but the negative impact of Starbase in Brownsville goes deeper still. SpaceX has recruited thousands of engineers and tech workers from out of state into the area, which is quickly boosting the effects of gentrification. Those effects are not likely to subside either. SpaceX's recent initial public offering has created a whole new millionaire class practically overnight for those employees of SpaceX who live in Brownsville. And while it is impressive to visit Starbase, to view these massive constructions, these huge launch sites, but it's coming at a pretty high cost, and obviously everything has a cost. So there it is, my new home and my old home, both undergoing changes. Yet when these changes have negative consequences, those consequences are usually left to be absorbed by the locals. Yet if and when these changes do bear positive fruit, well, that fruit is usually reserved for those who pitch the promise of a perfect life in sunny Spain or in the stars. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Feel free to hype the video if you like it. It always helps the channel. And as always, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next week. Hasta luego.